Welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, as always, we put Ghana first. And to Samson's stake, Auditor General commits high crime. The Auditor General commits high crime. And I'll explain to you shortly why I say so. In 2017, June, Occupy Ghana went to the Supreme Court asking the court to compel the Auditor General of the Republic of Ghana, the Audit Service, by extension, to issue surcharges and disallowances to recover monies misused and stolen that it finds every year in its reports. The Supreme Court agreed with Occupy Ghana and did something. It gave a judgment in which it ordered the Auditor General to do a number of things. It asked the Auditor General to ensure, and these are what are known as the consequential orders of the court, after the court saying that the Auditor General, the Occupy Ghana, was right in insisting that the Auditor General must be issuing disallowances and surcharges to recover funds that have been misused and stolen by public officials, even also by private individuals who do business with the state. The Supreme Court held that as a sequel to our judgment just delivered, we further direct that henceforth the Auditor General shall take steps to recover the amount unlawfully expended from the person or persons who incurred and or authorized the disallowed expenditure. Secondly, the Auditor General shall also take steps to recover the amount from the person or persons by whom the amount ought to have been brought into accounts. Thirdly, the Auditor General shall also take steps to recover the value of the loss or deficiency from the person or persons by whose negligence or misconduct the losses or deficiencies were incurred. And the Supreme Court was careful in saying whether or not the person is a public servant. And finally, the Auditor General is hereby ordered to take all necessary steps to enforce the decisions or steps taken by the Auditor General that they have noted already to ensure compliance, including, in some cases, criminal prosecution. Then they made this comment: we have had to issue out the above consequential orders, even though we are happily aware that the current Auditor General, Mr. Daniel Yao Domelevo, has taken steps to train his staff to prepare them to adequately for the hearings in respect of surcharge and disallowance appeals anticipated under Article 187, Clause 7 of the 1992 Constitution. So why am I saying the Auditor General has committed high crime? And what is it? And what are the potential, as it were, punishments that it must suffer? And yet we have not put the Auditor General through that. When we were signing up for the $3 billion from the IMF, Occupy Ghana examined 5 years Auditor General reports it took the reports prior to when we went to the IMF, and 5 of them, it found almost 3 times the amount we sought to save the economy, that's a 3 billion, had been misused or stolen. And all we needed was to recover those funds. We went to the IMF for $3 billion US dollars. Occupy Ghana took the Auditor General's report for 5 years, the last 5 years, previous, and found that monies misused and stolen, as found by the Auditor General, was almost 3 times what we were going to the IMF for. So all we needed was to recover those monies, chase those thieves. Now, in its 2024 report, which was released recently, 18.41 billion Ghana cedis has been misused or stolen. We need to be paying attention. 18.41 billion, not million, Ghana cedis has been misused or stolen. That is the grand corruption. We have lost almost 80 billion cedis in the last 5 years to misuse and theft. I'm talking about grand corruption. And the trend definitely will continue. It won't change. 2019 Afrobarometer found that we have normalized corruption, and this is where we are. So issuing surcharges and disallowances are important to recover the monies. Why is the Auditor General not doing it? And if you don't do it, what is the consequence? I state that and conclude my take. For the Auditor General's refusal to issue surcharges and disallowances, what are the consequences? Article 2 of the 1992 Constitution says that any person or group of persons to whom an order or direction is addressed under Clause 2 of this article by the Supreme Court, and these were the orders that were done, they were consequential orders, shall duly obey and carry out the terms of the order or direction. In clause 4, it says failure to obey or carry out the terms. Failure to obey or carry out the terms of an order or direction made or given under Clause 2 of this article constitute a high crime under this Constitution, and shall, in the case of the President or the Vice President, constitute a ground for removal from office under this Constitution. The Auditor General is not President or Vice President, so it's not ground for removal. But what should happen? Clause 5. A person convicted of a high crime under Clause 4 of this article shall be liable to imprisonment not exceeding 10 years without the option of a fine, and shall not be eligible for election or for appointment to any public office for 10 years, beginning with the date of the expiration of the term of imprisonment. This Auditor General or any other Auditor General in that office who have blatantly refused to issue disallowances and surcharges, denying us close to 80 billion Ghana cedis, 80 billion Ghana cedis in the last 5 years alone, have committed high crime, and they ought to suffer the punishment, 10 years in jail, and disqualified from ever holding public office. This will be my take. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform, and here on Newsfile, we put Ghana first. My guest this morning And right here in the studio, we have Dr. Kojo Pumpunia Asante, who is Director, Programs and Policy Engagements at the CDD, Center for Democratic Development. Inusah is former MP and Minister for Lands and Forestry. Well, he was also Minister for the Road Sector as well. We will be joined by Communications Director for the Baumia campaign, Dennis Miracle Sabuaje, Professor Kwesiening, a security consultant, Reverend Captain Dr. Henry Godson Afo, Head Pastor, Rehoboth Network of Churches, will be helping us to decode this prophecy review desk at the presidency. But I begin the program first speaking to Awula Sewa, convener, Eco-Conscious Citizens, and Parkwesi Shandoff, who is Media Relations Officer, Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. Thank you all very much for joining us this morning, ladies and gentlemen. So let me first go to Awula Sewa. Thanks. Okay. We will first speak to Parkwesi Shandoff, Media Relations Officer, Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, good morning, Samson. It's a privilege to be part of this morning's conversations.
Great. So, as we understand, the government is getting ready to roll out a ruthless fight against Galamsey. That is, if it is the case that we have come to agree that Dr. Mane Boama and the 7 others they met their death in fighting Galamsey. It is your ministry, the ministry that you work with, that organized this program for which they were attending. First of all, this particular program, what was it about?
Well, so first off, Samson, once again, good morning to yourself and to the rest of our audience across the globe. The program, which unfortunately was marred by this unfortunate event, is what we refer to as the Responsible Cooperative Mining and Skills Development Program, or otherwise known as the RCOMSDEP. Now, what the RCOMSDEP seeks to do basically is to upskill what we have had in the past. That is specifically the Community Mining Scheme and the National Alternative Livelihood Program, National Alternative Employment and Livelihood Program, the NALEP. The reason we are bringing this on board is that upon examination, we realized that there were a couple of defects with those 2 vehicles. The defects we realized principally was the fact that instead of being communal in outlook, it became an avenue for the political elite to venture into the enterprise of mining, in the sense that for the community mining scheme, for instance, you had people who were sitting, for instance, in Accra. They would acquire the license, they would go through all the facilitation process, and then they would go to the communities and then begin the mining without the participation and the buy-in or the cooperation of the local folks. And we realized that became a problem. So what this latest intervention does is that it now sees the entire process of, or the entire facilitation and the operationalization of the mining in the local enclaves to properly the local people. That way, it is community owned, it is community facilitated, and then of course the community gets to profit from that venture as well. So that is basically
how is this program or project a solution to Galamsey?
It is a solution in the sense that if you go to many of the local communities, the mining communities, the justification a good number of them have consistently given for getting involved is the fact that they do not have an active economic enterprise. Basically, they do not work, and that is their justification. What we are now doing is that if it is indeed true that they do not work, and maybe mining is what they want to do, we want them to do that in a more responsible and sustainable manner. This time around, not recklessly or arbitrarily. It's going to be done with recourse to appropriate protocols and procedures.
But this already provided for in law, community mining, which the previous administration was also championing, correct?
Correct, but the defect we noticed was that indeed, the characterization and the labeling was community mining, but existentially, in terms of operations, it was not communal. And that is what the point I was making earlier, that you had people who, for example, were living in Accra. They would acquire the lands, go into the communities, and then they'll be doing it on their own terms without the cooperation of the people in the community, given that the program was supposed to be communal. That's the problem that we had. So now we are just ceding it completely to the local folks. The local authorities will be involved, the DCs, everybody in a selected enclave in a particular local jurisdiction will be actively involved. It won't have any political interference or any big man, so to speak, coming on board.
That's appreciated. Hold on for me. Awola, thank you for joining us. Do you see any difference between this and the community mining project that the Akufo-Addo administration was pursuing?
Thank you very much for having me. There are some differences. They are going to short-circuit the issuing of licenses, but that doesn't solve the problem. There are some differences in the framework. But for me, as an environmental activist, what we are looking at is where is the compliance framework? Because the fatal flaw with community mining was the lack of enforcement. The same fatal flaw is in cooperative mining. If you don't address that, you can give the licenses in record time. It can be going to be cooperative mining. You could have put a framework for the sharing. But that does not address the fact that if you don't have proper monitoring systems in place, it will open the door, just like community mining opened the door to more illegal mining. So that is
look in the crystal ball and tell me that you have faith that this program will do what the community mining was unable to do, and Galamsey would have ended.
I don't.
Say that again.
That is going to be the case. And let me say also that there's a lot of. I've said that I'm not quite sure that will be the case because I haven't seen any rigorous enforcement framework in place. And let me be also clear. We have concerns from farming communities who say that they don't want cooperative mining, just like community mining, to be forced down their throat. They should be entrenched, the right of communities to refuse it. For example, you have Yarkrom, where, according to our contacts there, excavators were brought with armed men and they wanted to start whatever mining you want to call it. They said they don't want it. And they showed us videos of their cocoa farms. So they are saying that their livelihood is from farming. They don't want mining. And then we have the communities in Atronsu, Asemkro, who have also resisted mining. So let's not kid ourselves that mining is the only livelihood. I do understand that you're bringing alternative livelihoods. But when it comes to mining, whether you call it community mining, whether you call it cooperative mining, apart from entrenching the rights of communities to reject it, you also need to be sure that those who want to go down that road, that you can monitor their activities, so that if there are reports that they are straying outside the confines of their license, something is promptly done about it. As Professor Frimpong Boateng told us, if you have a mining license and you go outside the confines of your license, you're engaged in illegal mining. Having a license does not cure the fact that the mining can be illegal. It's not the license that, what shall I say, ensures that you're going to mine legally.
So let's get it to this point where we wanted the two of you to help us appreciate for the discussion. You also belong to the Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey. And you issued a statement last week and said you wanted the declaration of a state of emergency, as in targeted state of emergency, to apprehend the forces persistently fueling this environmental crime and gradually bringing our country to its knees. What exactly would the state of emergency do? Because as it appears, the government, the previous and now, are not, they don't want to do that.
Well, I'm not sure why they don't want to do that. We face an existential threat. Our water bodies are being poisoned, our forests decimated, and we know that our farmlands are also being poisoned. So the poison has entered the food chain. So we are signing our death warrants, and I don't quite understand what we think should be done to solve the problem. Fine, you want to find alternative livelihood, fantastic. Fine, you want to have cooperative mining, that is an option that you are thinking of. But you have to be prepared to nip this in the bud. It's gone out of control.
What will the state of emergency do?
A state of emergency, as I understand it, will ensure that you're using your armed forces, your Navy, your Air Force to remove the environmental terrorists and their equipment. You can do, first of all, no political interference. They are giving clear terms of reference. It is not shoot to kill. The primary objective is not to go around Rambo style, killing everybody in sight. Of course not. What you are trying to do, that's why it's targeted. What you are trying to do is to go to the hotspot and remove the environmental terrorists and their equipment. So, of course, if they open fire to defend yourself, you will return fire. But that's not your primary objective. Your primary objective is to go maybe 2 or 3 hotspots at the same time. With you have done your reconnaissance, you know the strength you need to go with. You know how many people are involved, the kind of strength you must go with to be able to overpower the environmental terrorists.
And that's already happening without a state of emergency. I guess that's the point of the government, that we can do that without declaring a state of emergency.
Well, if you can do that, you see, I'm not hung up on you have to use the term state of emergency. I'm more interested in what the fight back is looking like. As we speak right now, I can't see what it's looking like. We were told that 9 forest reserves had been reclaimed, the 9 forest reserves that were no-go areas. One of them included the Jimera Forest Reserve. Our information is that the environmental terrorists are there. Recently, according to the information we received, I'm not there to verify, but credible information is that 50 excavators went there.
Okay.
Earlier on, forestry staff who had gone there, believing that they had actually been reclaimed, were ambushed. And it is only by God's grace that they were not murdered. So we can see that although efforts are being made, they have not been sustained.
Okay.
And we also have to say that you need to have a number where the community, it cannot be just the do what. If I can just finish, you can see excavators going there. If the police command, national security will not do anything about it, at least the community should be able to have a number where they can call and there'll be a rapid response. We don't have to wait for 50 excavators to get there before we set up.
All right. Thank you very much. I need you to state one more time and finally that as far as the coalition against Galamsey, all of you from your different pressure groupings coming together, as far as you are concerned, the targeted state of emergency is non-negotiable from this point, correct?
I believe eco-conscious citizens believe we are part of the platform. We believe that you need a targeted state of emergency. But I'm not hung up on words. If you don't want to call it a targeted state of emergency, but you do all the things, you want to make a banana cake. You don't want to call it banana cake. You want to call it mango cake. But you are going to use the ingredients of a banana cake. So be it. It's the results we are interested in, not specifically what you call it.
I said finally, did you have some disappointment, as I'm hearing from some people, that they had expected the president to make certain statements to this regard yesterday in his speech?
Yes, I would say that too many people have died, from children who are falling into open pits and drowned, the police officers who drowned chasing illegal terrorists, the forestry staff. I mean, we have journalists who have been badly beaten up. And then we have the tragic deaths of the 8 persons, 8 lives, further lives ripped apart. So what we expected the president to do, as he himself had earlier on, before the crash, stated that we face a national emergency. What we expected him to do is to draw a line. There are going to be no more deaths that we can avoid. And if he doesn't want to call it declaring a state of emergency, this is what we are going to do so that the illegal miners, the environmental terrorists, have no hiding place. They need to leave our water bodies. And we cannot hide behind livelihoods.
All right.
You cannot, because you don't have a livelihood, poison the whole of Ghana.
Thank you, Awula Sewa. Thank you very much. She's with Eco-Conscious Citizens Group. And also, she is with the Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey as well. Now, Pakwesi, why the inertia, or shall I say the complete disregard for this demand for targeted state of emergency on those water bodies, on those forest reserves, so that it becomes a completely no-go zone. Nobody dares get there.
I think it is important for us to understand the context of our earlier demands for the declaration of a state of emergency. Indeed, before the current government came into power, there was that rife call that the government then, the new Patriotic Party government then, should declare a state of emergency. That advocacy was viral because at that point, indeed, we have a total of, just for the records, we have a total of 288 forest reserves across the country. Out of this 288, it is 44 that have been besieged. Now, in these 44, back then, we had 9 that had been completely taken over by armed illegal miners. And I think we have to put emphasis on the fact that these were armed. And the extent of their operation was such that even the security forces could not go into those 9 enclaves. And it was because of the intensity of that situation that we repeatedly were calling for the declaration of a state of emergency. Now, fast forward, we have been able to repossess all of these 9 forest reserves that had been flagged and categorized as red zones. And so the important question that logically comes to the table is that if back then you were calling for the declaration of a state of emergency based on those 9 red spots, and now you have repossessed all of them, not to say that the call is no longer significant. I don't want to use that description, but logically, the obvious question that meets us in reasoning is that why then would you proceed to declare a state of emergency when you have?
Because we have not reclaimed all 9. We have not reclaimed all 9.
No, we have reclaimed all 9. That is on record. All 9.
Jimira Forest Reserve is still under siege.
It is not. It is not under siege. I think yesterday you made this particular submission, and I said that we wouldn't have to go back and forth on it. We have our records. Indeed, there is the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat that supervises all the raids and swoop. And
that's what you say, and that's what is going on the ground.
Yes, but what I say is an absolute reflection of what is going on the ground. Indeed, we can give the room to an independent arbiter to verify the claims. But I am saying
is independent. That's what they are involved in.
Maybe perhaps we need an additional voice of verification. But what we are saying,
Erastus Asaredonko.
But he has not discounted the fact that the 9 have not been repossessed. He has not done that. The point he made, I think I should clarify Erastus's point. The point he made that I observed was that despite the repossession, Jimira Forest still had pockets of illegal miners there, and that is normal. Of course, having repossessed the forest, they would not willingly want to give up. But the good news, however, is that there is the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat that has barricaded all of those areas such that those people we have cleared out do not return. So back to the issue. Indeed, if it was 9 forest reserves that had been heavily besieged, that had become red spots, if you have been able to, as it were, repossess all of them, it then begins to appear moot the conversation around the declaration of a state of emergency. Because if you do it, where is the target? Your target previously was the 9. The 9 have been repossessed. Therefore, where are we going again? But that is not to also water down on the need for more combative approaches. If, as of now, because we are at this particular junction, if we realize that there is the need to perhaps consider such conversations again, I'm sure we will do that accordingly. But Samson, I also want to chip in something that is very critical. Apart from the declaration of the state of emergency, there's also been a lot of conversation around the repeal of LI 2462. Indeed, what had been done previously is the fact that a section of that regulation had been amended, which now effectively takes away the discretionary power that earlier the president had to give room or permission to forest reserves. The good news, however, is that, and I could say authoritatively here and now, is that there is a renewed conversation on LI 2462. And in the not too distant future, for example, as we are moving into the coming week, there will be an appropriate communication in that particular respect where the repeal is concerned. Because what we have done now, if you ask me, is to take away...
You are rethinking the complete repeal. Is that what you're suggesting?
No, the calls have been for the complete repeal. What
yes, and you are thinking, you are now considering that. Is that what you're saying?
that conversation has been had. Indeed, there was a crunch cabinet meeting that exhausted that possibility. And so the final outcome will be communicated very soon.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And please, can I come in very, very quick?
Please do.
I've just received a report that regarding the barricades of the 9 reclaimed forest reserves. I think we need to rethink this. I've just received a report. I can't name my source. That is not the case. That it is not the case that we've barricaded 9 of the those forest reserves.
Well,
I cannot reveal my source, but that is not the case. I've just received information from somebody listening to the program.
That's fine. Samson, the point I'm making in just 30 seconds is that I don't think we should go back and forth on whether the repossession is effective or is superficial. We can all independently verify, so we can go ahead and do that. But authoritatively, the record we have and the constant updates we have from the National Anti-Illegal Mine Location Secretariat is to the effect that the repossession is absolute and not compromised.
Thank you, Parkwesi Shandov. So, yes, let's now get back into the studio. Dennis, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Joseph Seni, where do you stand? We are hearing that the president is going to commence a ruthless fight. According to the Foreign Affairs Minister, he says this is a fight never seen before. And people are getting disappointed that he's not giving the signals. And at least yesterday he had the opportunity to give that signal, as Aula says, that this is where we draw the red line.
Yeah, Samson, I think that I need to say good morning to you, my good friend, Dr. Kofi Asante, Kojo Asante, and Miracles, I've not seen you for some time.
Wow.
And to say that yesterday was an attempt by a country deeply traumatized by what happened on the 6th of August to bring some form of closure. So the president was quite conscious of what he was trying to achieve. A non-dilution of the tragedy and the effect on the national consciousness of what happened on the 6th.
Will such a signal not have rather boosted and giving the families better closure?
So what our fallen heroes were on their way to Obuasi to do was to promote what we call responsible mining. And simply put, responsible mining is understood to mean how to mine for mineral resources without damaging the environment. Now, so they were not going to fight Galamsey. They were going to instill in the people the attitude and culture of respecting the environment after receiving licenses to mine.
We've come to accept calling them Gallant and heroes to signal that they were fighting Galamsey.
No, they are Gallants and heroes. One, because that is the utmost sacrifice of any public officer, any citizen of this country who elects to serve the country. That's the ultimate sacrifice. It's like a country in war, and a civilian electing to be drafted to defend his country and dies in the process. So he sacrificed their lives for the country. That's why they're heroes.
You just mentioned that the responsible mining project they were going to launch obviously doesn't have any compulsion, it's not going to force anybody or anything. And how is that going to, as it were, make the difference that you are looking for in the circumstance for which their death would be a sacrifice?
You see, you need to show to the people of this country that there's a way to mine legally and without compromising the environment.
We have been at this for how many decades now?
First of all,
it's yielded zero. The situation has worsened.
Samson, I was at the ministry, and I tell you, that the path and route that we are taking has been taken by other countries before. In some countries, they actually had to put notices on trees in the forest, reminding people of their obligation to protect the forest. So we're there. I mean, and you to do it, you have to build it incrementally and gradually. Now, if the responsible mining activity takes off, and people can see, and Awula and Co can see that community mining or cooperative mining can be done in a way that is environmentally tolerable, people will now begin to appreciate that those who have been given opportunities to obtain licenses to operate and have refused with impunity and are damaging the environment without recourse to future generations will now have a rethink.
You were part of the processes leading to stakeholders, meetings and conferences, including, at the very high level, Otumfuo's 82 being part of this project and, as it were, making disclosures about people who were involved. What did we get? Well, how different is it? It's community mining. That's what you're doing. Simply.
No, it's different. So Shandorf has told you it's different. And when we were here, we said it. The community mining was an escalated form of Galamsey. Who were the people? I mean, it is important for Shandorf and Co. to let us know who were behind the community mining. Who received the licenses to engage in community mining? How many of the people in the community were involved in the mining? Mind you and I, and all of us here, have a responsibility to protect the communities from which we come from. When we do so, because we are the environment, when we do so, we are doing it for ourselves. So that's why the idea of community mining came up. That when the people in the community are given an opportunity to mine, they will do that with regard to their very presence in the communities.
When the minister says the president is going to launch the most ruthless fight ever, what's your understanding of that, of Galamsey? What's your understanding of that?
Well, I traveled with the president in the helicopter to Obuasi in his first term as Minister for Lands and Natural Resources. The president is deeply aware of the devastating effects of Galamsey on the lands. We flew very low and we saw the pits. Now, the president at that time was of the view that we should immediately start an activity to reclaim the degraded areas.
An activity to tick the box? We have been doing that, just ticking the boxes.
We didn't even do it. I mean, he was voted out of office. He didn't do it. Now, when you said he's going to launch a vigorous campaign against Galamsey, I'm taking it from the point of view of the fact that he's keenly aware of the destruction. He knows what should be done. He's lots officers of state in the fight against illegal mining and also to bring about responsible mining. And so he will now have a keen sense of agency in how to deal with this matter.
A sense of urgency without a state of emergency.
Well, so you recall that I was one on this very platform who said that the president had a moral integrity to deal with. But subsequently, I've engaged him. They said, look, Inusah, we are doing exactly what the state of emergency will do. We're putting in place structures to ensure that people do not engage in mining with impunity. And that no matter who you are, if you engage in illegal mining, you'll be caught and punished for it. And you will recall that 2 members, high-ranking members of the party, have been reported to the Economic and Organized Crime Unit of the Attorney General's office to be investigated. So it sends a clear signal that, yes, things are being done, and they are done with the view to ensuring that we stop this illegal activity.
Since they were reported, what has happened?
Well, so it's investigations. So we're all waiting and following closely and keenly on what Iyoko is doing.
So a state of emergency, as the coalition calls it, targeted on the water bodies, on the forest reserves, and so on, the mining areas, is unnecessary.
No, I'm not saying that. I've not said that. And I will not say that. I'm just saying that presently, they are taking steps which seem to be addressing some of these critical issues. And at any point in time that they come to the conclusion that a state of emergency is needed, even if targeted, I'm sure government will so declare it.
Was it out of ignorance or was just politics when the NDC was endorsing the public outcry by the coalition, by organized labor, for the state of emergency, and Akufo-Addo not doing same?
Samson, your network carried extensive educational, if you want, publications and pieces on the devastating effects of Galamsey. I participated even at the, was it the Novotel or some hotel, about the Beach Hotel,
right,
where they brought all the people together, including Frimpong Boateng, to tell us what was happening. We have seen from reports people dying out of the activities of Galamseyers. We have seen the destruction of our forest cover. We have seen the pollution of our water bodies. We have seen the introduction of hard chemicals into the soil. What do you expect civil society organizations to do?
That hasn't changed.
It has been abated. It has been abated. Now people know that nowhere is safe. The Galamseyers know that nowhere is safe. They are being pursued. Now, we know that there was a community in the forest. That community did not start in 2024. It didn't start in 2025. How come that community escaped detection by the law enforcement agencies and was only detected after 2025? So something is being done. Now, so if you juxtapose what Okujato Ablakwa, Minister for Foreign Affairs, has said and what is being done, it will send a clear signal. It will lead you to an understanding that the president is going to approach the fight a notch higher. And so, for me, I think that we need to encourage the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources to continue doing what they are doing and keeping their eyes on the ball. Because people are bent on acting with impunity. They have so exploited this country to the extent that they now believe that it's an entitlement, it's a right.
So you'll agree with me that, and that will be my final, I want you just some 30 seconds on it directly, that we have launched programs upon programs over the years, and they have not contributed to reducing the scourge, but we have rather found ourselves in a worsened situation. This responsible mining project that the 8 were attending for the launch, if it ends up to be one of those just ticking the box, how would you feel?
Well, I will not feel encouraged at all. I will not feel enthused. I will feel disappointed. But I don't think that it will come to that. Because we have always said, and that is not now, under Atta Mills, with John Dramani Mahama as vice president, we have always said that we have a responsibility as a government to protect the environment. And to protect the environment means mining must be done in the way that is responsible and sustainable.
Okay.
So, this idea of responsible mining is not new.
All right.
It was taught true.
So the best tribute in their honor will be to ensure that this is not one of those occasions where
you're ticking the box.
The political leaders are ticking the box.
No.
Dennis, what's your understanding when you hear that there's going to be a ruthless fight?
That's a good morning, my seniors.
Good morning
to Honorable Inusah, I'm confused, very honest with you. And I'm sure there are millions of Ghanaians watching us this morning who are very much confused. I am, and I'm sure you are, because I listen to your questions. You seem not to really put a finger on what exactly the NDC are saying and what they are doing, honestly speaking. And my very caution to the NDC government is that for the first time, they have in us, the MPP, an opposition party that has made a firm commitment to not do politics out of Galamsey. They should take advantage of that and let us fix this existential threat once and for all. If they fail at it, posterity will judge them. I have always said, and I said it here with you on several occasions, that one of the challenges we had as MPP in government was the high over-politicization of the Galamsey fight, was the way and manner that the NDC created an impression as if it is the MPP government that is engaged in Galamsey, which ostensibly insulated every other person and gave those people cover for them to continue to pursue this criminality. And so it made it very, very difficult for the government then. I am begging them, and I listen to the PR for the lands and natural resources. He's not helping the country. You sit on TV and you tell the whole country that we've taken over 9 forest reserves, and so you are creating an impression as if Galamsey is no more or is not at a high ascendancy, for which reason there is no agency. You're not being truthful to yourself, and you're not being fair to the country. Samson, if you go to TikTok, and I have it here, there is Galamsey TV. Lawyer, Galamsey TV. They have 4.6 million likes. They have 591,300 followers. They post every day. Their least liked post has 2 million views, 2.8 million views.
Least liked post?
Least. It is in this country. It is on TikTok every day. The last time they posted something was 15th August 2024. This is Galamsey TV. The person who owns the channel has his phone number on the channel. Is here. So why are you doing this? We are under threat. MPP could not fix Galamsey. You campaigned with it. 2 weeks to elections, you and your friends called for a state of emergency, saying that if the MPP refused to declare a state of emergency, the whole labor union, organized labor, should go on strike. There was heat on the government 2 weeks to elections. I personally was being chased by my friends like Kenasibe and Professor Jampo to get Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia to sign an undertaking. I took it to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. He signed it. I took the copy and I sent it to Kenasibe and Professor Jampo. Everybody was alarmed. No government, no political party in the history of our country has been under immense pressure than the Akufo-Addo government in the last 2-3 months to the elections. And the crime was that there was Galamsey, and the narrative was that people could demonstrate for 1 week on our roads saying that it is the Julobi house, that the president is the one that is leading the charge against Galamsey, that it is the government functionaries. I kept telling them, you are allowing the criminals to go away if you continue this way. They said, no, it is you people. To the extent that cabinet ministers today went on Twitter and
we just independently confirmed the Twitter page,
the Galamsey page,
TikTok page
yes.
of the Galamsey news.
Yes. And that's just one. That's just one.
You're just about to say something.
The cabinet ministers, including Sam George, my friend Felix Nku, Joyce Bokta, and all of that, they were on Twitter. They said that if the president wants to stop Galamsey, he needs only 2 weeks. That there is no serious president in this country that truly wants to solve Galamsey that will not do it. And that is why when I come in the morning and I hear the NDC say, we are now going to embark on a ruthless campaign, I am confused. So what were we doing all this while? For the past 7 months, what were you doing? Were we not here? When I came to city and I told you that the NDC government has not done a single new thing in the fight against Galamsey. Not new, not one. You can't mention one. Mention one new thing, one new strategy that the NDC government has initiated since coming to office in the fight against Galamsey. Which president or which government embarked on arresting and attacking Galamsey site than Akufo-Addo? He did it with you. If today there are media people flying drones and moving in Galamsey site, it was an Akufo-Addo initiative together with the media. It's not an NDC thing. I have a story here on My Joy Online. As at October 2024, My Joy Online was still reporting on arrest of Galamseyers. This is the Subi Forest. This is it. This is it. Forestry Commission raised Galamsey camp and arrest 4 in Subi Forest. This is it. And the excavators and things being bent. You didn't introduce the arrest.
Don't you admit that the arrest and the siege on the miners, illegal miners, has seen an escalation?
No, it hasn't.
A whole community that's existed without our knowledge, has been removed.
There are still communities that exist today.
You get the police encountering the Bontifo or wherever.
Stop it. Please. Samson, stop it. There are more camps, more communities that have been bent in this country, even under Mahama number 1. What are we doing to ourselves? Why? Why are we allowing the government to come and tell us that because we went to one community and dismantled the community, we have done an extraordinary thing, even under Mahama number 1. Do you know when we started burning communities and excavators? Under Mahama number 1, 2013, 2016. Have you forgotten?
He supervised some of that.
Exactly. So why are we doing this? It is mediocre. It is mediocre. And then they come and tell us, we've reclaimed 9 forest reserves. The TUC.
Those were the hot spots.
It is not true.
Were the red zones.
It is not true. Go to Osino. In the middle of Osino Township, in the market, they are mining. Drive on the Kumasi Road. You see them by the roadside.
That's true.
Upper Densha East. It's happening. What are we doing? Why are we doing this to ourselves? Listen, you are a government. When you were coming to office, this emergency was there already. It's a crisis. Now, the 2 political parties going into the elections had to give the country what strategies they would use to deal with it. According to the nation, you gave superior options to dealing with the Galamsey menace. These are the things you said. 1, you said that it is the president and his government functionaries who are involved. And so when you come, you will make sure that no party person of yours or no government functionary of yours engages in Galamsey. That is the first.
Those orders and directives have been issued by the president.
Orders and directives, those orders and directives were issued.
Now proceed.
They were issued by
what did they say that was superior?
You said that 1, you are going to declare a state of emergency. That's what you said. Number 2, you said that you are going to ban all forms of small-scale mining for a while. For a while. You said it, for a while. That will give you room to be able to see the situation and sanitize it. 3, you said that you are going to free all the Galamsey boys who were arrested in the pit. You said it. You remember his media engagement. Who were arrested in the Galamsey pit so that he can go
said the
after.
Target should be the kingpins.
So you go after the kingpins. So if we're going to highlight the main policy, it will be go after the kingpins. Number 3, you say that you are going to ensure that you use AI to aid you in the fight of Galamsey. At least these 6 things, I have them written here. Now, let's come to them one by one.
There was a campaign for the scrapping of the LI 2462.
Of course, the repeal.
And they agreed.
The complete repeal.
Today I've been saying Kufuor quite a bit because I've seen him publicly a lot these days. And the Akufo-Addo administration began the process to repeal it, to remove it, to scrap it.
Yes.
And they couldn't do it. Then you come, you amend it, and you say, that's fine, we should be okay with it.
Now, Samson, I beg you, grant me a little time, let's go on this journey. So these are the reasons why we voted for the NDC, for Galamsey issues. Now, if you come and you don't do these things, and you are listing things that were in existence before you came, and telling us that these are the things that you have done so far, so we should applaud for you, you are a very disruptive interlude. Because the country was in a certain direction. You came and told us, push them away, we will come. Then you have come, you are not doing it. Basically listing the same things that you are doing. You are wasting our time. Have they declared a state of emergency? Why haven't they declared a state of emergency? Today, everybody in this country admits that the Galamsey situation has escalated than it was in December 2024. That is truth. The boldness with which the guys are doing Galamsey now, the boldness with which they are doing Galamsey now, it is not comparable to what it was in 2023.
We're seeing them, boldly go into cocoa farms. They are cutting down the cocoa trees. Yes. And they are being firm. Then they are showing it to us, the public.
I have a video on
now.
TikTok.
I hear that Cocoa Board is considering a legislation that will make the cocoa tree a prohibition for you to cut a cocoa tree.
Would you be there? If I am cutting my cocoa in Osino, are you there? I have my own farm and I'm cutting it. Are you there? What would you do? What would you do? There's a crime. Arson is a crime, right? But if I decide to burn my own house and not come and report to you, what would you do to me? Or I burn it and I think I'm fine. What would you do to me? We need to be serious. Listen, declare the state of emergency, just as you believed it was important. The most absurd thing, the biggest betrayal in all of this Galamsey conversation is when I hear the NDC try to make excuses for not declaring state of emergency. Then it bleeds my heart. That why? Why do you deceive people in this manner? Number two, why do you go and amend the LI when you were explicit in your promise that you will repeal? And then when we ask you, you keep beating about the bush. Number three, you said that Akufo-Addo and his functionaries are the ones pursuing Galamsey. So our understanding is that when we push Akufo-Addo out, Galamsey should cease. Now you have come to office, and guess what? Your party people are the ones doing the Galamsey. They are the ones taking over the mining side. Let me tell you what is happening. If you go to the mining communities, they are doing handing over. The MPP are standing on the left. The NDC are standing on the right. And I say, time to hand over. Mustafa Bande was on your channel here, telling your presenters that there is a mine that is somewhere in Ashanti region that was being operated by MPP, and it's time for them to take it for the NDC. The national security.
He said it here?
Yes, on this show. The national security had gone to take over.
Not on this show.
No, I mean on this channel.
Really?
Yes. The national security had gone to take over a particular mine. They say it's a small scale mine, whatever.
I've heard Ken Ashigbe and the rest say that party people are doing all of these things, but the one you are attributing to Mr. Fagbande,
yes.
I'll need to check and be sure about that.
Erastus actually reported it, that the national security had gone to take over a mine.
Yes, I heard about that one.
And then when he was called, he said, it was MPP that were operating it. We are bringing our people, and I'm not ashamed of that. Number three, let me tell you, we have had the NDC functionaries on TV, videoed by media people. Apadancha East chairman was caught strangling a military man and asking him, what are you doing here? Because these military guys have gone to the place to go and stop them from Galamsey. The Ashanti region executives, Western region, the Awin Traditional Council, Samson, Awin Traditional Council wrote a petition to the president that the member of parliament for Awin, the NDC member of parliament for Awin, is engaged in Galamsey. This thing is going on across the country. We are under threat. The country admitted that we were in a serious problem. You gave us specific promises. You have come to office. You are not dealing with it. The responsible mining that Honorable Inusah speaks of, that he says that they were going to go and deal with it. And I agree with him. Responsible mining is the way to go. Because it is very difficult for you to tell the people that you are on the land and we are not entirely going to allow you to do it. But that is not new. They were going to relaunch a program that is already running. And you realize that when you ask Honorable Inusah, he made the point that, who were doing it? It was NPP people, sort of like, but it's a program that was in existence. My point is that the NDC are gradually disappointing this country when it comes to the fight against Galamsey. The manner in which they have taken over the Galamsey sites in this country, the way in which they have invaded the forest area and the river front and destroying it by their party people. We beg them. This is not the promise they made to the people of this country. What we need them to do is to quickly backtrack. And when I hear the president say that they are going to go ruthless, I am not expecting anything.
Is the minister saying it for the president?
So the minister,
Foreign Affairs.
I don't know why is the Foreign Affairs minister announcing the president's position on Galamsey, but just maybe he said it in a meeting. But the point I am making is that, Mr. President, all you have to do is to refer to your voices, refer to your videos, refer to the promises, and simply implement them.
Okay.
If you implement the promises you made, and we don't even get results, the country would at least admit that you have done what you said.
So, we are waking up today and we are being told that about 5 people are feared dead after, this clash between residents of Mansu Bonteso and the anti-Galamsey task force. How daring the people can be in a community where reportedly those who sought to attack the armed team were reportedly led by the assembly member, and they were, pelting stones, at the team. Well, they managed to overcome them, and so arrests have been made, and we are told that about 5 people are feared dead in this situation. When you hear that there will be a ruthless fight, what's your level of trust in that, pronouncement?
At this stage, let me say I'm still very skeptical. There are three issues that have to be dealt with and have to be dealt with simultaneously. This, what the community mining, responsible mining, this is all about the benefits of mining in the community. This has been a long-standing contestation. What you have in Niger Delta with oil and all of those things, it's the same issue. People are in their villages, concessions are given, people come and mine, they leave. The town is as it was 100 years ago. And the longer people see this disparity and this unfairness, they are willing to do things that, ordinarily communities will not do in order to make a stake. Illegal mining has offered that pathway, but it is then opened up a whole level of criminality that also has to be tackled with enforcement. Then you have the regulation part, that even if you're doing the responsible mining, how are you going to ensure that you don't actually, increase the externalities that being created by all these illegalities in the communities? At the moment, the licensing regime that went on created so many mining, you couldn't even tell between what is legal and illegal anymore. I'm sure even when you begin to look at boundaries, it becomes a problem. I think the challenge for me in the intervention with everything that the state does is, a policy like that, I want to see a document that tells me this is the objective that we are pursuing. These are the targets. These are the ways in which we can show evidence.
We're being told that the difference between this responsible mining project and the community mining, which was also supposed to be for responsible mining under the previous regime, is that the community mining, you had people in town going to be the ones who were taking over whatever it was, setting up the community for the mining. But now they want the indigenes themselves, to own what they do, like a cooperative.
Sure. And is it the idea that when they own it, they'll be more responsible? Because it's not given. If somebody doesn't regulate it the same way they will regulate Newmont, people will still take advantage, and if they have to use mercury, to get what they want, because people can see the money, and if they are willing to kill themselves, what now that they even don't have the military or whoever behind them, why would they act differently?
The issue has been also that in the community mining program, the community members cannot afford an excavator and all those things to do what they need to do. That's why people who could afford were infiltrating and being the owners. So now they say the community will own it by themselves, the indigenes. And they are creating what they call common user facilities. Yeah. One of the things that Dr. Bamia was preaching, gave a lot of popularity to. So that's some solution, isn't it?
No, it's because, you see, I've dealt with communities for many, and we are all here. Any kind of resource that comes into any community, there's always big people in there who will have a say as to who control it. If government, you can go and put the rules there and all of that thing. At the end, natural order would structure what happens there. It's going to be captured by local politicians if you don't have specific interventions to counteract that. So the fact that you have taken away bigger politicians, but the local politicians who are capturing it where do you think they are getting their money from? They're getting it from bigger politicians and bigger business people who are not necessarily the community. So what I believe, we're trying to say is that all of these things are the right way to go. I think all the approaches, responsible mind, because you need to address the unfairness that is going on. You have to address the illegality, which now is connected to terrorism from the Sahel. It's opening up. Now if we don't take care, we'll have a Niger Delta on our hands. This clip that you were showing of community members, as soon as they get radicalized and they begin to get weapons for themselves, which is already happening, there are actually protection teams now that are being formed to go and protect people.
In fact, Anabisiu also went to one place and he was confronted by these guys.
So very soon, you start seeing more deaths. Because when the communities now see the state as the enemy that they need to fight in order for them to secure whatever, there's a lot of engagement. That's why I agree with Honorable when he's saying that there has to be a lot of talking even as you are trying to deal with the criminality.
All right.
The chiefs all have to be involved. So what I listen to all the conversations that we are not agreed on how to measure progress. Because the systems of reporting and monitoring is being done in silos. We should be doing it together so that we already missed the rainy season now. Because if we had said that, okay, for these communities where there is intense Galamsey, we even had targeted state of emergency. And the state of emergency for me is a posture. It doesn't necessarily have to be that, but it's just the posture of the state that, okay, this area is we want to reduce this water quality. The mercury is already hitting the water table in certain places. So we are far beyond, measure. We need to take very drastic action. So I believe that the state of emergency is really just, for me, as I said, it's a posturing. And we need to still declare that what do we want to see change in the next 6 months in this area. And we all have to be able to ascertain that it has happened. We don't want the anti-illegal Galamsey task force.
You were talking about something.
Report.
You were talking about something. How do we treat that bit of it? The involvement of the high ups, the politicians. You, together with Asela, did this finding sometime in 2019 or 2020.
Financing, yes.
And you found that to prosecute a successful presidential campaign, you needed to spend not less than $100 million US.
Yeah.
Well, some of the politicians, debated you and said it could be around 45, 50 million.
It's probably 150 now.
Now your new research says you need as much as $150 million US to prosecute a successful campaign. The parliamentarians also need
at least $600,000
US dollars.
Yes.
When you did this survey, you also were able to trace that some of the campaign financing came from Galamsey. Speak to me. How do we resolve this? Can we resolve it?
Oh, yes, we can. We can. For me, the perversion, and I think, this is something that the parties must confront. And they themselves know what is happening in the parties in terms of party capture is that money has taken over the parties. So, because we are talking about reforming political financing, if somebody comes and bring you money, knowing wherever it's coming from Galamsey, it's coming from what they call the fraud boys, it's coming, and they all have an objective. They want to be protected by the law from doing so. A police officer, somebody calls and says, "Oh, leave him. It's part of our people." Okay, right? And people are seeing it. These things happen, and people are making calculations that, this is the fastest way to secure protection from the state and all of that stuff. So for me, what has just happened here is the two parties saying we have reached a point of consensus that we really need to deal with it now. The environment is ripe for it. Everybody is aligned. The issue then is, if we take these measures, please, nobody should come and interfere. Because there's no way you can justify, as a party, an individual, that you destroy our water tables, you destroy our environment and all of those things because it will help you promote the party. Even if the MPP made that calculation, it didn't benefit them in the election. So, for me, it is what they said as a central crisis, it is exactly that and for water, it's life. You don't know what water is coming down your pipes in Accra currently, with all the kinds of chemicals that are going into the water table. So I believe that the president, that's why I said I want to see a document. I want to see an integrated system for monitoring.
Okay.
So that we can all say we have made progress.
Okay.
In 6 months or a year.
Right. Inusah wants to say something briefly, and then we take a break, and then return to look at other issues. But should we do this before we go for the break? I'm thinking about us being able to say something briefly about what should happen after the burial and funerals have happened, about the incident. I shouldn't call it an accident yet. About the incident. What should happen? What questions are on your mind? Of course, we have gone to do the DNA. We have come back. The forensics, we have identified which body it is. There's been blame game going on. Bodies shouldn't have been in, sacks. They have explained to us that the bodies were very hot. You couldn't put them in the body bags, the polythene, so to speak. And so this is what was the only situation they could do, and so on and so forth. What questions are on your mind? What do you want to do after that? What do you want us to do after we are done with the funeral? Yes.
So first of all, let me just say that I agree with Dr. Kujia Santi, when he says that there is not yet a consensus on how we measure. So we have disjointed form of assessment of the fight against illegal mining. I also think that the hearing from Miracles saying that there is consensus now from the MPP side that they must depoliticize the fight against Galamsey. It's a commendable decision by the party.
I say they or we. You politicize this for your benefit.
I'm coming. Please. I don't want to I actually give you all the opportunity to talk.
Very well.
Because on this platform today, there are very decent people. I don't want to.
Very well.
Yeah, So, but Miracles, it is not the NDC that politicizes. It is the MPP that politicized Galamsey.
Both are equally guilty.
No, but when they were in power, it's the MPP that destroyed the equipment of the women organizer of the MPP party. It's not the NDC. And that created an impression in the minds of the people that party officials were engaged in Galamsey.
Arrest your upper denture, Chairman.
It is the MPP that cleared Guntumi when the minister himself said that the man was engaged in mining in the forest area and had no documents. It's the MPP, it's not NDC. It is the MPP that instructed, it's the president actually, acting through the chief of staff, Fremo Pari, who directed Frimpong Barton to produce a report on the fight against illegal mining before leaving office. It's not the NDC that
when
did
it comes to the politicization,
no.
I mean, a fair measure will show that both parties are guilty, but the NDC may be more guilty at the time, particularly in the 2020 election.
No.
When we went to those Galamsey fields,
everybody was confronted with the menace. Everybody was shocked that we could have a government. And it is not only the NDC.
But you went in there and you were telling them how you were going to protect them instead of dealing with them.
And then
anyway, let's move to the next.
The third thing is that, look, you say Galamsey has escalated. You see, this is what we do to ourselves. Now, he said that without providing one shred of evidence. But we all know the reports of Erasmus Donko, who says that from what is happening on the field, it appears that Galamsey is abating. Erasmus has said that.
Erastus. Okay.
Has said that.
Okay.
And so please, let's all agree that we are at this point because we have not yet arrived at a consensus.
So we have moved on from the Galamsey discussion.
Let me give you some information.
Just a second. So I understand that we'll pick a quick comment on this subject with Henry Godson Afo, head pastor, Rehoboth Network of Churches. He's joining us for the second segment. I understand that he will comment on all the issues as well. So briefly, also, for what do you have to say? What's our solution? What should we be doing going forward?
Thank you so much. First of all, let me greet all my lovely friends and brothers in the studio. Great submission by all of them. But I'd like to start with this quote, Samson. The day we start depoliticizing major national issues, we will start making progress and we realize that national development becomes inevitable. Unfortunately, I think Ghanaians ever so often have seen our key political players and people that we've entrusted the nation into their hands. Sometimes, unfortunately, and I think we are witnessing it a bit this morning, the blame game. It's NPP, it's NDC. When do we draw the line and look at the issues on the ground? We are talking about issues here which affect our national security. It has serious national security implications. The resources, we're talking about water, we're talking about farmlands, food security, and all of that. And unfortunately, we're now hearing and seeing people being armed. My brother, these are very serious issues. And I think the first thing I would say in making progress in this area is to depoliticize this issue.
Okay, Reverend, a small question before you proceed on. A quick question.
Yes, sir.
If the NDC made promises that they will scrap the LI we are talking about, that they will impose a state of emergency, and Dennis joins us on this show and asks them that question, is that politicization?
I think certainly our key political parties will make their pitch and their stance. But I want to sit here from where I sit in a very objective position, and I want to commend every little effort that has been done in the past. And I think we all need to look at what good things have been done and whatever we do going forward, pick up from where the other party left off.
The politicians are failing us. They are in control of the ship of state. They are failing us. And if they make a promise and they don't keep it, we should call them out. Why should we say that will be politicization? So we shouldn't.
The thing is, we can sit here for years and years trying to punch holes in what that person did. And I realize the statement that says, oh, this one has offended even more. We understand there's been failed promises in the past. Let's wipe a clean slate. And that is where I'm looking forward to the day where we're going to have a solid national development plan that we stick to. And as my brother said earlier on in the studio, stick to the deliverables, stick to the key objective, so we can go back and sort of benchmark what we feel has to be done and make sure that we're not just ticking the boxes, but we're delivering. And I want to say this, in terms of the solution, this is where I come in as a man of the cloth. The last time I checked, and I did my little research, the population of Ghana is in the excess of 35.1 million. Out of that, a whopping 71.3 of this population are Christians or people who identify with Christianity. Muslims, 19.9%. And this is based on the 2021 census. Altogether, a whopping 92%. And I believe that a lot of these people are causing issues to environment, greed from money to do with Galamsey. Most of these people are in our churches or in a mosque or in some way belong to a particular religious organization. I am calling also on the churches. We have a role to play. This is something that affects all of us. we need to start putting this into our Sunday morning services, educate people. And finally, let us put it even into the curriculum. Into the curriculum, put it there.
But that's a sad commentary.
Let's study about these things.
That's the saddest commentary, Reverend, isn't it? That we are all religious. We are all religious. If you are not Christian, you are not Muslim, you look up to something that you are religious about. And yet, this is where we are. Greed. Like Reverend Joyce I said last week on this show. Last week we committed the whole show to mourning, the 8th. And this is what she said. That's the truth. It's greed. This singer will say, part-time Christian seeking to deal with a full-time devil. That's what we are engaging, right?
Yeah, he's from my city in Dakar. So we sometimes stick with the truth. But let me just conclude on this. And you like to hear this. You like to hear this. And the reason why I say that, commit it to the curriculum. Start teaching it in the primary schools as early as age 5. Let us teach them. Take them to these sites. Show them the evidence of what is going on now. Kidney disease, liver disease, and all of that is on the ascendancy. And there is a key reason for that. Our water is being poisoned. It affects everybody. So let me just show you something here. I've talked about 92% in the excess religious, okay? And you throw in other religions, Hindu 1.3, traditional religions 3.2. Let me just tell you this before we move on. Do you know that actually we don't preach this in our churches? But I'm telling you this. If you look at the Bible is very emphatic on how we should keep our environment. And it is very clear. If you look at Genesis, God created man. God put man in charge of it. Genesis chapter 2, verse 15, it says, keep the earth, be fruitful and multiply. Genesis chapter 1, verse 26.
Feel it.
I'm coming to this. If you look at our brothers, the Muslims, the principle of Khalifa also is very, very, very strong on humans as stewards of the earth. And again, it's in the Quran. You look at 6, verse 141 and all that. So we've got a point here where we need to really thank God for what the politicians are doing. And I want to commend the president saying this. And I don't fault him for saying that. Because unfortunately, whether directly or indirectly, we've lost 8 gallant people. I watched their thing yesterday and I was sad. The whole day, my day was just messed up. And everybody will be sick to death. When you look at this, what happened yesterday, you'll be sick in your stomach. So let's this re-galvanize us. And let's look at how we can make this a national issue, put it into the curriculum for schools to study about it, put it into the churches, and let's go from there.
Thank you very much. And the bottom line is what Kabila says. The greatest honor or tribute we can pay to the departed faithful 8 is to end illegal mining and its unsustainable concomitants. Let's keep our focus now on what questions you have about what should be done going forward. Yes. Not about Galamsey, about the crash.
But let me supply some information on Galamsey. It's fair. Can I? Thank you. So, see, we want to solve the problem. We cannot spend every Saturday morning to belabor the point and talk about the same thing. And when we get to the point where we need to deal with it, brush it under the carpet. Samson, listen. Honorable Inusah and the NDC should know what time it is. You are in government.
7 months in government.
You told me to.
And 7 months in government.
You told me to. You are in government. You made specific promises. Indeed, you made the Galamsey promise within 100 days. That's your promise. We didn't make it for you.
You stop Galamsey in 100 days.
I beg you. Oh, why are you doing this?
No. It was to take the steps.
The steps.
Not to stop Galamsey.
If you do this, I will do it to you.
Conclude you are quickly.
You shouldn't say that.
We are moving on from here. We are moving on from here.
No, but you shouldn't say it to me. Don't do that. I beg you. I was going to do it to you and you stopped me. Please. Let me flow. The NDC should understand that. If they continue like this, we'll draw a cooperation like they did to us.
You have no.
And if we withdraw our cooperation,
you have no that power.
We don't have power to withdraw our cooperation.
What position do you hold?
Why, Samson?
What position do you hold?
Would you handle this so that I can speak?
You are cooperating.
Can I speak?
Okay.
If they continue in this manner, we we will withdraw our cooperation.
I'm saying that you can't speak on behalf of the NPP
fix your
because
program.
you're not an officer of the NPP.
Fix your program.
You're not.
Fix your program.
Samson,
Fix your program.
Wait.
officers of the party.
Fix your program.
Let's
The last time I
understand
checked, he wasn't the national chairman of the NDC.
But I'm not speaking for
Neither is he the lands and natural resources.
So now proceed.
I beg you. He should
Proceed. Now proceed.
Don't interrupt me again. If they fail to check their posture, we withdraw our cooperation. If we withdraw our cooperation, they cannot even attain 20% of success in the fight. I insist. The real criminals.
But you're also in this country.
I'm just making
If the Galamsey is killing Ghanaians, it's killing all of us.
When they were
What do you mean by withdraw your cooperation?
Can you just
Withdraw your cooperation from fighting Galamsey?
Yes, and I'll tell you why.
Can you imagine?
The NDC Chief Executive Officer of Gold Board, who is now today leading Gold Board, sat on Metro TV and said that nobody should ask them, the NDC, to make any input whatsoever in the fight against Galamsey because they are not in government. And that nobody has voted for them. Some said, listen, don't interrupt me. If you do that, I came on the way from Akotiawo just for this morning, I beg you. Now, the point I'm making here is this. These guys should take us seriously. They should stop behaving as if they are still in opposition. You gave us 6 specific promises in the fight against this menace. You are struggling. You are unable to do them. Even the 3 that you promised you would deliver in 100 days, you haven't been able to do it. The low-hanging fruits, which include repeal of a law, which you have absolute majority in parliament, you haven't been able to do it. And instead of you toning down, showing respect to everybody.
Is this the point you're going to make?
No, so that we can all cooperate.
I need you to do
that
that quickly.
Now, when we were,
you understand, right? So you understand.
But you cannot continue to interrupt me.
Nana Edu Sipoku says that.
You cannot continue to interrupt me, and I'm not allowed to speak.
Penyinfo say okonfo boni say krubeboa otimubi.
Can I now proceed? That's why I am sending caution.
But I would.
That's a
very bad.
Now let me go on to make my point. Let me make my substantive point. I have in my hands a report that Honorable Dambuchi commissioned when we were in the local government. I was at the IMCC then. We led the study.
Yes.
In this country, there are 74 districts with illegal mining. 74. We have 261. Out of the 261, 74 has illegal mining. In the 74 districts, there are 522 communities with illegal mining. In these 522 communities, 263 of them are mining in the river bodies. 307 of them are actually on land, like I mentioned the Osino scenario where they are doing it in the market and what have you. 89 are in forest areas. The NDC government today, they have this data. They know this information. We don't have Galamsey happening everywhere in Ghana. There is no Galamsey in Dansoman. There is no Galamsey in my Equiapem North. The communities with Galamsey are listed here. Samson, if I pick Adansi Asokwa, the list is here. Brofi Yodu, Old Atatem, New Atatem.
They introduced the water guards also to help fight this.
Now, if you have this data and you have this information, you don't come and sit on TV and reference Nana Danko Akufo-Addo, who has been voted out of office and is on retirement, when you are challenged and faced with an existential threat to our survivor. It is the most disrespect and insult to the people of this country. And I think that it's high time that they realize that they are in government and speak as people with
So this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. Thank you. So this is what I'm going to do. Inusah, as I did ask you, I want you to move away from Galamsey. And we are doing this in the next 10 minutes because we need to move on. Tell me briefly what issues concern you are nagging that you want to be addressed after the crash.
Yes, so the issues clearly were captured in what the president said yesterday. That no matter how you look at this, simply doesn't make sense. Why doesn't it make sense? The aircraft left Accra for Boas. The military said it fell below, or it flew below the radar at a point. What did they do? Did they scramble another helicopter to go along that route to see what was happening? Or what did they do? The fact that we now know that the pilot was an experienced pilot, very trained, very experienced and trained pilot, skillful.
The best hands you can have.
So clearly, how was it as a result of pilot error? Or what was it? Or a foreign object hitting the aircraft? Why, during the redundancies, and I've been reading on aircrafts, we have backups, and the backups have backups, because it's very risky to fly in there.
Yeah.
So, what did this aircraft, Z9, did it have backups?
And where it fell was only how many minutes to the landing point where it was supposed to land.
So why? I mean, and we've had reports that difficulty in London. What was the difficulty? That is why we cannot bring this matter to a closure until the experts look at the black box. There are some who claim that probably the aircraft could have been struck by a foreign body. The bird strike, what is it?
We understand that is almost impossible.
Wow, well, so you see, but people still want
unless it's an artillery striking, you can't.
Very well. So what is it? How did the aircraft come down where it came down? And I've been thinking, when I was not in the country when the thing happened. And so when I was flying back, I went to a tracking device on the aircraft. And then the Malaysia MH270 got lost, and after now they are still finding it. And my understanding of tracking is that that tracking device can be replicated on the ground. So the platform that ensures the tracking, was it on the aircraft? The Z9 didn't have any tracking device. Did it?
Until this situation, it has been flying these routes and elsewhere.
That is why when this thing happened, when it happened, we were all shocked. Because no one, you can't plan for that. And we have never had that experience.
Okay.
So that's why we were shocked. And clearly, the tributes that were poured out yesterday clearly demonstrated that no one had anticipated.
It's the manufacturers that will have to decode that. We understand that the president wants some independent oversight.
Yes.
Therefore, Americans are being brought in so that they will work with the manufacturers, the Chinese.
Exactly, the Chinese. How that will work out, I don't know, because the manufacturer, original equipment manufacturer will want to keep certain things secret because of what they are the manufacturers.
Right.
Immediately you open it up, the technology and everything now gets exposed. But it is important that we have an independent third party supervising all this.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Dennis.
Samson, I mean, this sad situation, it's always difficult to what we could have done. My father, for don't always says that with the benefit of hindsight, everybody. I still think it's an accident. Because we should investigate. I don't think we should continue to belabor and try to constantly run various conspiracy theories and scenarios around. Only God knows how many times I've sat in the helicopter. Only God knows. You know when you're in the local government sector, because you have to crisscross.
You know, often we forget that you were actually behaving like provide some headship within the local government sector.
Yes.
So you would have,
all the time, because usually if you have to go
the country.
Usually if you have to go to a T region, because of the distance, sometimes you save yourself the stress of long hours of travel in and out.
Right.
So you have to go with the chopper and come back. So sometimes you can even go with the chopper, have a program in OT, and come back and have other functions in Accra. Only God knows how many times I have sat in that helicopter. God knows best, to be very honest. We've seen people have accidents even on the Legon, University of Ghana, Okonglo area, and die. I'm sure you wonder, how can anybody have an accident at Okonglo and die?
where the speed is not supposed to be high.
So much.
Yeah.
It's an intersection. People are supposed to do that. So for me, accidents do happen. In as much as we'll have to investigate and understand it, I think we need to also admit that accidents do happen. If you don't take care, you'll be running so many commentaries that are purely based on assumptions and things that you cannot put a finger on.
And we must mention that the New Patriotic Party has done something that is getting a lot of applause for. Justin Frimpong went to the NDC's offices with some executive and they denounced, party members on the fringes who are making commentary, that's, unsavory about the incident, and sort of also apologize on behalf of all of that.
Because that is what is, you see, beyond politics, these things show you that we are just like ants in the sight of whichever world that is beyond us. And that nobody controls anything.
Okay.
You can just wake up. Think about it. I'm sure Edward and Mutala probably told their families at home that I'll see you at 7 p.m. or 8 p.m.
Right.
And even like the ministers always do, even by the time they were moving from the Air Force Base, they probably had other appointments at 4 p.m., 6 p.m.
Yeah.
And it's possible they were even just waiting for them in the office that they are going and coming back pretty soon. Yeah. And then you are in a helicopter that is coming on a free fall. I always imagine the kind of conversation, panic. I'm sure some may even die before the thing comes to the ground. Because the fear, and all of that. So I really think that it has happened. There are professionals. To my MPP brothers and friends, we cannot retaliate. I've seen people share videos of what some NDC people did in the past, those who were wishing Akufo-Addo dead, some NDC functionaries singing for Akufo-Addo to die, radio presenters who were saying that there are some crashes happening elsewhere and they don't know why Akufo-Addo was not in the crash. I think that this is humanity. Let's forgive. Let's forget whatever it is that they did in the past against MPP functionaries. It doesn't matter. We are human first. And let's pray for the souls of our dear brothers who have lost their lives in such tragic, devastating way that I don't wish it on my worst enemy, no matter how much it hurts me.
All right, thank you.
We can move on.
As for the ugly partisanship and sometimes the way it's so base, and I remember on the Tema motorway when I had the accident, that almost killed me. I'm here because of God. And some party people put up messages and said they wish, I had died.
It's the NDC boys.
Yeah.
NDC boys.
It's serious.
NDC boys.
Yes.
NDC boys.
Oh, let me make a quick tribute to Dr. Amani, because I, particularly for last year, worked with him trying to deal with some of every violence accompanied the elections. You have to say, he's definitely one of the good ones. I would, really committed to his country and was very, very, very committed and making sure the elections came out peacefully. So I still feel numb when I think about passing and the fact that there's nobody, and so it really makes it. Sometimes you're not sure if it's actually happened. But there are three things. We are not good at learning lessons from tragedy and disaster in this country. We keep repeating the same things. One of the first things is that we really don't have a good system for educating our citizens, even our leaders, or training them, orienting them about how you deal with accidents, incidents. Sometimes even accidents happen and people are just going to carry somebody could have like a broken bone or whatever. They will just, grab them anyhow. So normally you get it through your school system. You're not getting it from there. If NCC was doing more, maybe you get it from there. So we have to ask ourselves, how do we create a mechanism for picking up this kind of knowledge? When an accident or an incident like that happens, when you go there, what exactly are you supposed to do as a citizen? I don't think even our DCEs and so on have that about emergencies and so on and so forth. They are supposed to be heading the misfire security and so on. But what kind of orientation do they get from, say, NADMO and so on, that when these things happen, when you go. So I think there's that we have to deal with. Then, of course, the issues about aircraft, its maintenance, its procurement, and all of those things that ensure the highest levels of safety. Because the political class just have to ask themselves, they are the most proximate to a bad sort of safety culture in the state. If they don't fix it, they will die if that is not happening. And then what has come up, which I think is something we also have to look at, is basically the armed forces, the state of the equipment that is available for them. And I think maybe in all of this post-event, we need to look at that as well. It's not obviously for public, but it is something that we need to pay attention to.
All right. So, Reverend, what would you say briefly about this? What's on your mind? What we need to do going forward after the crash?
Once again, our commiserations with government, with the families of the bereaved, and they continue to be in our prayer and our thoughts. Very sad. I watched everything from day one, again, how we handle things. But to be fair to those in charge and the likes of the Ashanti regional minister, the way he conducted himself, people like that we need to mention for commendation. I believe that under the circumstances, what they could organize at the time they did. But I'd like to add my voice to what my brothers have said already in the studio, that we need strong education on how we deal with incidents, not only incidents of this sort, but even road accidents. And again, it goes down to education. One of the things that I think we could be doing very well with all our institutions, educational institutions, especially when you get to the university. I remember back in the day, UCC, when I did my first degree, we used to have those AfroStat and some of these other nice programs you do on level 100 or level 200. We could add things like first aid. Okay, first aid has to be something that we have to roll it out across schools, across institutions, across various organizations. How do we handle these things? And even within our townships, our villages, we can break it down to their level so that anything happens, somebody collapses, somebody is about to deliver, there's no way they can get a person to the nearest clinic. How do we deal with these things? And these are the things that we need to learn from this incident. As much as possible going forward, we should be able to put some resources into education on how we deal with first aid. And I think that would be one of the best ways to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So we take a break. We'll be right back. When we do, we'll quickly try to understand what the prophecy review protocol will be and what will be the purpose, really. The statement that came out saying that if you have a prophecy about concerning a national security matter, concerning members of government, that the Jubilee House will wish that you send the prophecy to them so that they would review it. Well, Elvis Free Ankara says that they have received so many by now, and 80% he can tell it's sort of rubbish. And they have to look at the other 20% and see if they get something out of that. What exactly is this, heading to? Some have said, you just can't do this. We are not a theocracy. And if you want to spend your time on prophecies, like Esedun Ketia says, life must go on. Let the prophets do their thing. Let us also run government. Otherwise, you may not even be able to move. Because if they got up today and told you that there's going to be some helicopter crash and you have to get into the helicopter to go somewhere, will you say because of that you won't go? And we are also discovering that some of them actually, right after an incident occurs, they go and manipulate their prophecy and put out something which is false, which they didn't say, and try to claim that they said it. You have heard from Wusubempa, who says that he tried to avert it, that he was not. Who should allow you? Just avert it. All this, crap. And then yesterday, there's somebody too who was at the funeral, saying that he should be allowed to resurrect the dead. If they allowed him, he would have resurrected them. Why should you be giving access to the place? Just sit where you are. Why? Your God is blind or can't see? Anyway, we'll be right back.
Prophecy for me?
Not yet.
People say my office is a collector of prophecies. I think that, first of all, I got my appointment letter about 2 weeks ago. So people haven't heard about the appointment. People didn't know about it. People didn't know about the office. So that alone was a problem. And then when the statement came out, we did not define the office because that was not the purpose. And so, for good reason, maybe some people felt that an office has been set up solely to collect prophecy. That's why you saw all those memes and all that. But I took it in good faith. It's part of the adults of the job. I've heard people say government should focus on governance and allow churches to do.
Say Ghana is a secular state. So why make it?
Yeah, but what is governance? Governance is the government is to ensure the interests of the citizens are protected and advance those interests. Now, Christianity, Islam, or faith has become part of our society. I mean, 90% of the population. So it's your reality that you have to deal with. And then we've had situations where there are thousands, millions of very, very good pastors, but you have situations where a few of them, the things they say and do in public tend to cause fear and panic. And unfortunately, within this period when the country is grieving, you have situations where people say, well, we foresaw it, but we couldn't get access to official documents.
Okay, so you're welcome back. My guests in the studio, Miracles Abuaje, Dennis. We have also Reverend Henry Godson Afo, Dr. Kwame Ujopumpuni Asante, and Inusah Fuseni, who is former MP and former minister. Now, the statement that was issued from the office, it's not long. I want to read it out to you. The Office of the Presidential Envoy for Interfaith and Ecumenical Relations, Office of the President, Jubilee House. And the statement is dated the 10th of August, 2025, and it is directed to all ecumenical heads. And it says, Dear esteemed leaders in Christ, headed, Strengthening Spiritual Partnership for National Direction and Healing. Greetings of peace and grace from the Office of the Presidential Envoy for Interfaith and Economical Relations. On behalf of the President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, and the Office of the Presidential Envoy, I extend heartfelt appreciations to you and your various denominations for your unwavering spiritual support, intercessory prayers, and sustained leadership in promoting peace, moral integrity, and national unity. Your role in Ghana's spiritual and civic life remains indispensable. As part of strengthening national coordination on spiritual matters, especially in these times of uncertainty and complexity, we kindly encourage you, those of you who have been misreporting what the statement is about, as if it's an edict that everybody must obey. If you don't obey, you are in trouble. It says, we kindly encourage you to inform all prophets, men and women of God, under your oversight, that any prophecy or spiritual insight of a national nature, it's not about anything about somebody is going to have twins and the rest that they do all the time, about somebody's mother is a witch or somebody, their mothers never kill them until they meet these prophets. Now, so it's oversight that any prophecy or spiritual insight of a national nature, especially those with implications for high-profile political leaders, governance, national security, or public stability, should be formally relayed to the Office of the Presidential Envoy for urgent review and appropriate escalation. This is in the spirit of responsibility, discernment, and stewardship over the nation's destiny. Furthermore, in the light of the tragic accident that occurred recently, which claimed lives and involved government officials, military personnel, and NDC party executives, we humbly request your intense prayers for the president, for the government, state institutions, the bereaved family, and so on and so forth. It was signed by the envoy, Elvis Afriankra. So, Rev, what do you make about the public outcry that this was needless and the state doesn't have to get involved in all of this? After he issued it, one of those who is said to have made a prophecy about this particular incident, and people are so gullible. Just listen to that prophecy. It has nothing about this. Listen to it clearly. All the caveats are there, and the ifs and all, they are all there. If it didn't happen, they'll say, well, I didn't say it will happen. Now, one of them said they need transportation, they should actually be giving vehicles, and some of them should be appointed into that particular office. What do you say?
Thank you very much, my brother. I would like to start off by saying that prophecy in Scripture is well situated and very clear. The role of the prophet in the Bible in the times of old has been spelled out very clearly, again, from Scripture. And personally, I can sit here and describe myself as a product or a beneficiary of prophecy or the ministry of prophets. So I'll not sit here and criticize or lambast or brush all prophets with the same brush. I think that needs to be very clearly made. Unfortunately, however, a minority, okay, and when I say minority, let's remember what God told Elijah. So Elijah, as we know it, major prophet of God. So if you read about Elijah from the book of 1 Kings, from chapter 19, you can see some of these things that I'm talking about there. But at a point, he felt that he was the only prophet. God says, no, I've reserved for myself more prophet than he ever thought. So when you look at it, God always has more in the thousands, 7,000, all of that. So there are people who are not actually in the media space, in the public space, speaking about things, but maybe might be praying about it. And there are people who are using the title prophet who also are not. And there are some who are not even using the title who are. But let's go back to what I said before, a little bit of statistics. A nation with a population of 35.1, 71.3% Christians. So even though we talk about Ghana and we describe Ghana as a very secular state, but the truth of the matter is, and we don't have to be very hypocritical, sometimes even people who will say things about church and all of that, we still sometimes go to church or we belong to church here and there. And people will have their own misgivings. And I don't want us to put a blanket rule on everything. But coming back to the essence of this.
Reverend, these Christians you talk about, we find them everywhere. So they dominate in our ministries, departments, and agencies. I just mentioned to you before I started the show on my tape. In the last 5 years alone, almost 80 billion Ghana cedis has been misused or stolen by the Christians who sit in those offices. Just last year alone, 18.41 billion Ghana cedis. They stole it.
So let me come back to the point I was making, and I'm just going to quickly touch on this. I have been a very ardent advocate of making sure that as clergy and as men of God, as women of God, as the church, and I said it quite recently, we start sanitizing our own system before we're forced into any form of undesired but necessary regulation by some government someday. And I think the onus is on the government. Certainly, government has a responsibility also to protect the citizenry and all of that. But I have to say this, personally as a Christian, not even as a pastor or anything, but as a Christian, it saddens my heart when I see that in a nation where we have 71.3 Christians, if we can use the influence of our faith and go back to the tenets of the teachings of Christ, as was modeled by the early Christians and the early apostles, trust me, Ghana and maybe Sub-Saharan Africa, most places where we believe in Christianity, we should be amongst some of the best developed nations in the world. Because just by going by those teachings, do we do it? Unfortunately, the answer is no. And that's why I'm saying that what comes out from the pulpit from Sunday to Sunday, we need to do more. We need to do more to educate people and go back to the core tenet of the teachings of Christ. And that is why in Acts chapter 11, you see very clearly, verse 26, the people just saw the disciples and they said, these people look like people who have been with Christ. Why? Because they saw the life of Christ in them. And for the first time, the word Christian was coined out because they saw the life of Christ in them. Unfortunately, can we say that about, unfortunately, even some of our pastors or clergy today? The answer is no. And I'm not calling anybody out, but I'm sure that sometimes you see some of the videos and some of the stuff that comes out in the media, people insulting, people lambasting, using unprintable words. It beggars belief. And it's sad to say this, that we as a church, yes, we have to do more to sanitize the system. And by so doing, I, as a person of faith, I'm also counting on some of our fathers, some of the patriarchs in the system to start doing this, leading on this.
Can we get to some specifics about this issue? And
yeah.
You say you will not paint all of them with one brush. Of course, nobody is going to do that because as a Christian, I'm a Scripture Union raised and I'm a Catholic. I'm happy about how my faith was built. I know my scriptures. I know how to read the Bible for myself. And I know how to receive guidance from men of God. But when you have this ugly competition out here in Ghana, when God speaks to the prophets on 31st night, on the 31st of night, God speaks to all the prophets around. And guess what he tells them? He tells them, I don't know which God it is. He tells them about harm, about sorrows. You know, what is that? I mentioned, for example, Usu Bempa. He said, I tried to avert the tragedy. The government officials failed me. How do you want the bereaved family to feel about this kind of conversation? There's a prophet by name, some Roja or something, Fire Uja, something like that. He is the one who said every should give them transport, buy them vehicles, and appoint some of them to the place so that they can, do this job well. All over, they are prophesying death, road accidents, all of this. What is that?
I think just to come back to that specifics, this is where I see it, and I'm speaking for myself. Reading the letter that we just read, I've read the letter several times, and just when you read it, and thank you so much, my brother Samson, you did mention it rightly, that what the presidential envoy for interfaith and communal relations is trying to say is not a regulation in itself. He is using the words to encourage. I believe that if we understand the spirit of the letter and try to understand the rationale and the objective behind it, we will realize that what he's trying to do is to give accessibility. So it's about access to the relevant people for whom you might have said that God has spoken to you. And I don't want to discount or discredit if someone says, I've received the word. And let me just borrow the words of the Speaker of Parliament when he says that I listen to men of God and I don't discount or I don't just disregard what they say. People have their different faith. People keen to different things. But I feel that it is about time that we bring sanity into the system. And I tell you this.
So Rev, so that a prophet gets up and says, like they have been saying these days, I see the president, this is happening to him. Then this one says, I see the president, if he goes here, this will happen. I see this, and then the Jubilee House will receive these prophecies. And because of that, the president will not go anywhere. I see that if the president eats something this will happen to him, so he won't eat, or what?
Right. Can I just say this and then just quickly throw a bit of constitutional touch on this? So certainly, I mean, you're a very top lawyer, one that I respect so much. Article 21, Clause 1C says it very clearly that all persons shall have the right to freedom to practice any religion and to manifest such practice. But certainly, it is also very important for me to mention that such customs should also be situated within some form of responsible practice. That's why the same Constitution in Article 21, Clause 1A also goes on to talk about the fact that you will have your right to freedom of speech and everything, but we have to be mindful to how these things are done. I'm going to tell you this. I as a Christian, I don't live my life based on prophecy. Okay? And I think that sometimes that's a mistake some people make. And I believe that there are some people, even if they have to permit me to say, probably even go and sleep with their wives, they'll come and ask the prophet, should I do it tonight? Should I do it on a Thursday night or whatever? But I mean, that's beside the point. The truth of the matter is, we have to be able to also to test all spirit, as the Bible says in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 21 and 23. People should not be living in fear, okay, because a prophet spoke. I am vehemently against that. And I think if we limit ourselves to that, at some point, we almost become akin to what some terrorists were doing back in the day in the West, just trying to bomb a few places to put fear and panic into the lives of people.
Yeah, that's why we have law in this country.
Exactly.
If you say things that tend to cause fear and panic or fear and alarm, it is a criminal offense, punishable at law.
That is why I am saying that we need to sanitize the system. So I'm using this medium to tell every Christian out there. And I'll give an example. Personally, I feel that even sometimes when we are prophesying in church, it is not every prophecy that you have to say it in a microphone. If God reveals something to you, and it is very delicate, sometimes be sensible, because the spirit of the prophet is subject to the prophet. Be sensible. Take the microphone off and tell the person, because what we are doing at some point, I'm going to be very honest with you, and I'm talking as someone who is very reflective in my practice. I think a lot of our people don't reflect. We're not reflective practitioners. Maybe we saw some prophet doing 25 years ago, and that's how we were raised, and we're all doing it. But who has sat down to say, why do we even do what we do this way? Why do we call out these things? What is the efficacy? I mean, I've seen prophets who call out the kind of pants people are wearing. How does that add to national development? How does that add value to the life of the person?
So you clearly admit that.
So there are things in there.
You clearly admit that there's a lot of confusion in this, right? The way they go about what they do.
Certainly. And that's what I'm saying.
And the God whom they serve, by the Bible they show us, it's not the author of confusion, right?
God is not an author of confusion, but also, you see, sometimes it's about people carrying out the right exegesis. And I'm saying this because I think, look, I've got a PhD in education, all right? I've schooled myself. So when I'm sitting here talking, at least I'm not chatting gibberish. I've also been trained at the Royal Military Academy of Sandhurst as a chaplain.
So should we do like in some African countries they have done, where you must have at least basic degree
that's what I'm saying. So
to go through a process of qualification, theological training to be able to do some of these things.
I'm just giving an example. I just didn't get up and started using the title doctor. I've worked over 6 years to get my PhD in education. And Honorable Fuseni knows me when back in when
some of your friends, they bought it with $1,000.
All right. But I'm telling you this. When before I got into Sandhurst, there was a system. As a chaplain, I had to submit myself to the sermon. I went for an interview. It was a 12-member board. Before I went through what we call AOSP, Army Officer Selection Board. Before I got my approval to go and study at Sandhurst, before I earned the rank equivalent or whatever of a captain, what we call ourselves padre. But why is it that when it comes to the church, it's like anything goes? And meanwhile, this is something that affects us so mightily. And I'm bringing it back to the point. That is why I think, I'm not NDC, I'm not MPP, I think we should commend this initiative by the Presidential Envoy for Interfaith and Ecumenical Relation. It's a very powerful thing. And commend the President for allowing this discourse to start happening.
Okay.
And if at some point, please, sir, if at some point we can have this discourse and then we begin to interrogate our practice, reflect on it, I'm sure that you have men of God even starting to call for licentiating or giving some kind of a certification.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. Hold on that note for us. Doc, he called for it and says he has received so many inundated, and he says 80% of that is rubbish, so to speak. What do you say? Is this sustainable? Is this what we should be doing?
No. I think it's not the role that the state envisaged in respect of faith and religion. I don't think this is a proper relationship that I'll explain further on that. And I don't think it's a good use of the taxpayers' money.
They are causing a lot of confusion,
so
particularly 31st night. So he's giving them a channel where you can sanitize the process. Instead of they staying out there and saying, this one is going to do this, there's going to be an accident and so on and so forth. They will reach out to the right person.
It will be counterproductive at the end for me. Okay. That's what I think.
Tell us why.
So, I mean, first of all, let's get this false prophecy out of the way, which is that if any of these things was inspired by the claims that the president's death was averted because he was not on the helicopter and so on and so forth. From all the narration we know, even if the president stayed or went on any airplane, he would have been in Côte d'Ivoire, as far as we know. So all people claiming that, since he didn't go anywhere, that's why,
No, but the logic in it. Ask the logic. What kind of God is that? God loves the president. Doesn't love the other.
So that's the perversion of that is you don't even want to get there. But like if this was what is inspiring people to say, we averted a disaster in terms of the president, and therefore we need to do A, B, C, D. First of all, that is false. So we don't need to go there. As for the prophecy issue, remember Dan Parry even issuing dictates about all of that. So it's been going on for a long time. So what I meant by, for me, I think Ghana is blessed in terms of its interfaith institutions and arrangements. And if you look across both society and the state, there's so much that we have all benefited from the way we've organized religion. We don't get religious conflict, like many other countries get it, because there is very good relationship amongst religious groups and faiths, but also with the state. But often when you say these things, people say, Ghana is 70 whatever, 90 whatever religions. So if the state is making these like the cathedral and other things, then it's all fine. I think sometimes we misconceive the whole idea about when we say Ghana should be a secular state. When you say that it should be a secular, it's not the absence of religion. It is the equal treatment of all religious faith. You should treat everybody equally because the Constitution accepts that people have different faiths. And so whatever relations you are going to, you don't discriminate against anybody. It's not necessarily that you treat certainly the religion from the state, because we don't do it. I mean, we do prayers, we do all kinds of things. So for me, because our lived experience tells us that people are abusing religion and faith, all kinds of things. It is on our televisions every single day. Some of the things that, when you sit and just go through Ghana television, and somebody has been given a license to, and they are sitting there proclaiming all kinds of things. Somebody is doubling money
somebody is doing this, somebody
One of them
is doing
just
that.
got in jail.
Yeah, you know, and it's like all over the place. So when you have a problem like that, first of all, the issues about accreditation and regulation, all those things, has to be where we have been talking about it. In the past, it was about taxation and all of those things, because also people actually selling products, religious products, on telly every single day. So there's a lot of abuse. So if you enter this space and you say, oh, okay, now we are going to sanitize it, and give it presidential endorsement, so that now you channel, if there are 10 prophets, 1,000 prophets now, by the time there will be 2,000. Because what does it do? It is basically to incentivize charlatan, because there's no punishment for false prophecy. If it's useless, it will be just thrown away. But it gives you some sort of reputation, particularly if you're looking for power, access, notoriety, and all of those things. So I thought, for me, I don't see the value in it. There are very good structures. I mean, as Reverend has said, there's been a talk for a long time about what can be done around regulation of these kinds of things, accreditation, maybe training, all kinds of things. But the institution itself doing some self-regulation, so that, like what we have done with chieftaincy, you know, faith has its own traditions. Pastors, it has its own traditions. Let people be able to use the same information that everybody knows to say, this is right and this is wrong. It will be very difficult for me to go and step in and be reviewing prophecy, because I'm not, you know, whatever.
Okay, so Doc says we shouldn't waste the state's money on this. Dennis, many, you know, respected clergymen, we have heard from Cardinal Texan, Joseph Osei-Bonsu, among others. Reverend Osei-Bonsu says, most Reverend Joseph Osei-Bonsu says that if God has revealed something to you, find the right way to go about it. My concern is that these days, most prophecies are focus on death or disaster. You, the politicians, have you not encouraged this? Now, as you go into your primaries for your presidential candidate, every day we are hearing one prophet here and there say, oh, it will be Bamia, this one say it will be this other person, and every day there's competition. And you guys go there and pay homage.
So, Council, you see, I'm a Methodist. I schooled in a Presbyterian school. So our understanding is a bit different. For us, tomorrow, the preaching you hear in every Methodist church is the same. We use what we call the almanac.
Just like the Catholic Church.
You know, even the prayer, that's the Reverend Minister will be praying is written. You know, and it's basically, we are basically reading the preaching. So it's a bit controlled. And for us, it's also more about teachings than prophecies. I mean, until recently, you would hardly hear any prophecy in a Methodist church or a Presbyterian church. It used to be very strange when we were kids, when you see a Methodist Reverend Minister giving prophecies. They could even expel you in those days. But we are not God. I listened to, I mean, first of all, I think that Honorable Evers' free and clear position should be scrapped. First of all, I don't think there's any reason why the state should be spending money on a presidential staffer to be playing that role. The government should be clear. If you want to secretly appoint a deputy minister or a minister for religious affairs, do it. But don't hide it under a different cloth. We have a minister for local government, chieftaincy and religious affairs. If anything, that's his job. He should have a unit or a desk in this ministry. But if you have a whole presidential staffer in the caliber of Honorable Everest, a free and clear to be doing this and to be moving around with pastors and prophets all over the place, what is the use of the ministry? You know, and that's the point we keep making about the NDC pretending that they are reducing, you know, number of ministers, but they are using covert ways to appoint so many people. Because if it's a presidential staffer as we hear it, then he is at least at the level of a deputy minister. So you may as well just announce him as such, but that's notwithstanding.
Interfaith coordination, that's an important office.
But you have a minister for religious affairs.
It's not an office for prophecies.
You have a minister for religious affairs. I agree with you. I'm saying that you have a minister for religious affairs. So if you want to appoint another one, do it. Don't tell us you've cut down ministers and you're appointing people at the same level of ministers to play roles that you could have done it. But let me come to the substantive matter. So I've heard him actually use 1 Thessalonians as a basis for the approach. In fact, he quoted 1 Thessalonians 5 verse 20, which says that do not treat prophecies with contempt, but test them all. Hold on to what is good. I watched the banter between him and Uncle Kwesi Pratt on Metro. My only challenge I have with Elvis's position is that, you see, the Bible talks about testing of prophecies, but that's a spiritual exercise. It is not a carnal exercise.
He's an intercessor, you know that.
It is a spiritual exercise. Now, in this exercise of spirituality, I mean, you can reference 1 John 4 verse 1. It's not a governmental function. This issue is bringing up issues that are theological, practical, and even constitutional. You cannot use human systems and structures to control prophecies. That is a big problem. In fact, he's right, because even Jeremiah speaks about false prophets. And Jeremiah raises serious issues about how a lot of false prophets have gone into the world. But there's nowhere in the Bible that he refers to that says that government can control or censor prophecies. Indeed, even in the Bible, at the time when there was an attempt by some governments to control prophecies, you know what they did? What they did was that they used that to control the people. And they started influencing prophets to say things that they want them to say so that people will follow. So there's actually a biblical principle when it comes to an attempt by government to control prophecies. It's in the Bible, where in an attempt to control the people, the government at the time actually did the true prophets. And for me, that is a danger. Because you see, I'm NPP, you are NDC. The government is paying you money, and you are saying that if a prophet wants to say something that God has shown him, he should come and tell you first. Then you.
Something about.
Yes, about the state or high-profile people. Come and tell you. Then you would review. How do I trust that you will not censor it? You are a pure politician. How do I trust that you will not censor it? So tomorrow, the prophet tells you that, God forbid, honorable, no, let me not use that. Honorable A, B, C, D is the one that will die. Then you tell the prophet, or you will come and interpret it. That is not that guy, it's miracles. Because I'm your opponent. It is unheard of. It is unnecessary. What we need to do is to use the systems in place to continuously educate these pastors and prophets that we have so they will be a bit more responsible. When we were kids, when we go for Friday half nights and there are prophecies, do you know how it comes? Once you are praying and everybody is doing the intercession, somebody will scream. And then the person will start saying, my children, it is me, your Lord, speaking to you. I have seen this, I have seen that. At what point are you going to control that? At a time when you and I know. And then they even used to tell us that when the thing comes, like, some of them used to come in a different language, some strange language. They say that if it comes and immediately there's no interpretation, there is fake. So immediately that one comes, you should hear somebody speaking it in a language that you understand. But the point is that now that we have all these prophets on TV, and the Bible says that when I take the microphone and I am of God, I am consumed by the Holy Spirit and the Spirit speaks through me. Some prophets and pastors will tell you that when they finish their service and sermons, they don't even recollect what they said because they were in their spirits. And you are saying that when the Spirit is speaking to me as a prophet, I should pause. What if I forget? It is not, you see, and these things, it's not as if when they say prophecy, God has a timetable for you to go and pick your pen and paper and write it. I am preaching. Once I am preaching, I spot Samson. And the Holy Spirit tells me, this guy is going to be involved in an accident.
How about 31st night?
Yep, they see it. It's discerned.
No, those who don't even prophesy, 31st
you
night, they
and
prophesy.
I are not clothed.
So they plan it.
You and
actually,
I,
some of them announce that the people should come to church on 31st night and they will give prophecies.
I have a principle.
So it's something they can plan.
I have a principle.
That you can control. He said a while ago, and that is scripture.
How are you going to control
that the spirit of the prophet is under the prophet.
No, but the point is that the Bible never speaks about government interpreting and accepting what is true and what is not. How are you going to do that? How are you, government? So are you going to appoint 3 pastors who you believe to come and sit and receive the prophecy and interpret it?
You send it to me, we look at it and say, oh, this looks serious. And from the way it is being said, maybe it's worth considering. Then we take action. That's what he's saying.
So you are going to interpret people's prophecy. Why don't we then talk to God that, God, from today onwards, any prophecy you want to give to this about this country, give it to me, your servant, so that I can speak to the president. There's a pastor in Kasapepe that God has chosen him as a vessel and spoken through him. You are saying that that pastor should come and subject his prophecy to Samson, whom you trust and believe as the man of God, to interpret the Kasapepe. Are you the one now censoring who God should call and who God shouldn't call? I think that, first of all, it's not practical. You know it's not going to work. I was watching one prophet yesterday, and he says that he doesn't even know why they are doing it, because the number of prophecies that they are going to send to the presidency, they cannot control. He said it. He said that the number of prophecies that they are going to send to the presidency, they will not even have space to receive it. Now, if you have 1,000 prophets sending you messages every day, or sending you prophecies every day, how are you going to even catch up? Even as politicians, as I sit here, there is no day that passes without me receiving one prophecy or the other about me. There's no day. Every day I'll have a pastor send me a message, and all of them will tell you it's emergency, it's serious. It is just by the grace of God. Because the sort of things they call us and tell us, Samson, the sort of messages we receive every day about what God has told people about us, that will happen to us. If we don't take care, we can't even sleep. If you don't take care, you cannot even sleep. Like they see, basically, I'll be on TV. As I leave here, somebody will send me. Whilst we were speaking, I saw a yellow star on your forehead, and I could see that. Every day I get it. And they tell you that if you don't get back to them, there is no way you'll be able to.
Why do you encourage it?
No, you're not encouraging it. They are sending it to you.
It's a miracle.
You understand? You're not encouraging it. They are sending it to you. So governments and Elvis should just admit that we're in a serious situation as a country. What we should use are approaches that would work, which include sensitization. Let's use their associations, the Pentecostal churches, the Christian Council, the Catholic, and all those things, so that they will tell them that, listen, from today onwards, we are all in this together. If you should have a prophecy about the nation, we beg you, just do something about it and avert it.
Okay.
You understand? Right. Why is it that when you have a prophecy about me, you have to reach me first before you're able to fix the situation?
How does this work? When Ozubempa says for 3 months he was seeking audience, calling people, but they didn't put him through the officers who must hear him because he was trying to avert this tragedy. And Dennis just mentioned the Christian Council of Ghana. The former General Secretary, Reverend Dr. Kwabena Opunifrimpong, says which people are going to review the prophecy. How does a politician teach pastors what to do? Consult the clergy before making a public pronouncement. And of course, this subject is not new, but it is the invitation by the presidency or the encouragement that is bringing it up. I remember hosting the very Reverend Professor Asamoah Jedu, who is the presiding bishop of the Methodist Church, people who are knowledgeable, on these matters, and they decry the way it is being done. It's been there. It's been there.
Samson, you see, the way the issuing of prophecies paints God as a terrible creature. Why will, like Ozubempa has said, why will God choose to just annihilate people and send that signal to another human being? I mean, that debases the concept of God. The concept of God that is in our constitution. Because Ghana, as a country, we believe in God. But we don't believe that God will be so wicked as to kill people who are on a mission to save the country. We don't believe that. Look at the Constitution. You've read it several times. We say that in the name, this is the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, in the name of the Almighty God. In Arabic, it's just Bismillah. In the name, we're writing the Constitution in the name of the Almighty God. That's to tell you that we believe that there's a supreme creature
You said we are writing the Constitution. It says, in the name of the Almighty God, we give to ourselves the things we state in the Constitution. Right.
Yes. Where will that God then decide that the things that we have elected to do for ourselves, he can punish some people for doing those things? That's why religion is a deeply personal matter. I believe in God.
That's the emphasis, deeply personal.
Yeah.
And I believe that he controls my life. And he controls many things in this world. I believe that when I intercede to him, he listens. And in my quiet moments, he guides me. Because that's why I have an inner voice. That inner voice is the voice of God. I don't go to anybody to seek an intercession. Because that person is not better than me. He's just a guide.
The Bible says, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, thou art with me. Not through somebody.
But not through somebody.
Thy rod and thy staff is what keeps me through the shadow of death.
I have leaders. I have imams. I have pastors who are leaders to guide me. But they don't reveal what God wants to tell me. He reveals to me. He reveals to me. And I've traveled the world. You see, this thing about prophecies and all these things, sometimes it challenges even your faith. You travel the world. People are making progress. You never open a TV and you hear anybody offering a prophecy. Meanwhile, those people are developing, they're becoming prosperous, their people are getting out of poverty, and then you don't hear prophecies.
They brought it here. They even brought it to us.
They even brought it to us, in fact, thank you, miracles. But you don't hear those things. So why? Is it one of the things of condemnation that religion is now used to condemn us to perpetual bondage? It's dirtiness. Those people who are issuing of those professors, how well do we know them? I mean, prophets of old, you read the Bible. And then years of submission to the will of God, years of devotion, the way they conduct themselves, the way they carry themselves. You see it in them. The people accept that these are men of God. Is that what we see? And some can even drive Rolls Royce. And wear gold chains.
Men of God are not supposed to be poor.
Yes, now tell us that.
They are not supposed to be
They are
poor.
not meant to be poor.
They are not meant to be poor.
The richest pastors with the poorest congregations. The richest churches don't have aircraft. You Methodist church, you fly aircraft around.
God spoke with them when you and I were
You have private jets.
God spoke with them when
So that is why I find it difficult to see how probably it's because of the communication of Elvis.
Okay.
It is always important.
All right.
To reconcile the different faiths.
Right.
So
because we need to have just a little time on the last subject so that we don't skip it completely, Rev, I understand that you want to make a minute's contribution to conclude. Please do that quickly.
Very quickly. Thank you so much for that. I just want to say this, that as a nation, as I've said, our religiosity or level of spirituality must be equally proportionate to our level of development. And that comes to education and what we are preaching in the pulpit. Talking about using the fathers in the house to do it. Sometime ago this year, Dr. Otabo, if I should mention, they started doing some teachings. And within the church, there was a division. So at some point, if people cannot accept that you practice your religion within a responsible way and within responsible limits as per the Constitution, we have to crack the whip. And that's what I'm saying. And just quickly on that, America does it. Paula White and all of these people are with the president. They pray for them. The king has a personal pastor who is paid. So I'm not saying commit so much national resources to it, but it is very important. If it bothers on the well-being of the nation, let us try and find ways to not say regulate it for now, to make sure that the system is sanitized. Thank you.
Right. Well, in America, people are not studying under trees and we need to take care of that. In America, I drove to University of Education, Winneba, Thursday. For 40 minutes or more, I was on a very dusty, rough road. You should take the Accra-Kumasi road and see what it is now. So let's fix the important things first. Let's talk to this God to prophesy about how we'll develop this. We'll get money to develop these places. So quickly, about the issue that have come up as a result of this crash and people making those comments, being arrested, and the NPP has issues with some of them. The NPP issued a statement and said, arresting those who shared the viral video where you had a female speaker threatening to kill President Mahama and behead the First Lady, Lordina Mahama. There are Prince Ofori, known as Fanti Comedy, Yayira Abewu, Akosia Jollof, that's other alias. I have Emmanuel Kwache. They were doing those things and have been arrested. And then we have Daniel Adumako, Sir Obama Pokwase, who shared footages of pictures of what he said were guns that can only be available to the police but are in private hands, and they are being picked up. The police said the arrests are linked to intelligence-led operations against illegal arms network, probing images and videos of individuals brandishing sophisticated weapons. MPP says, we are shocked that a serious establishment like the Ghana Police Service will waste resources to arrest and detain young citizens who, out of exuberance, made comments deemed unsuitable for the moment. These social media activists, like all of us, acknowledge the grief that has gripped the nation and have no actionable ability to cause any harm, nor intend to do so, except for their comment, which, however unsavory, are opinions they are entitled to. We need not remind the Ghana police that freedom of speech is guaranteed in the country for all citizens, and that the partisan approach being adopted by the current security system of the state is very worrisome. The Ghana Police Service should not be a whim for the executive. Your motto is service with integrity. So we ask you, where is the integrity you speak of? So they ended by saying they strongly condemn the arrests. Doc.
Well, first of all, freedom of speech, and I think Honorable mentioned Article 21 and all the freedoms under Chapter 5 are all limited. First, that your freedom doesn't lead to the interference of somebody else's freedom. And then we have all the other things like public morality, health, public order, security, and some of the subject matter that you have referred to borders on those issues. Now, what really, and it is something that society, and it's not just us as Ghanaians, but I think across the globe, we have to begin to deal with some of the fallout of social media. Because social media doesn't give you filter. People think the things that they would never do in a public square, they can do it on their device. So if, somebody was brandishing a knife, in the public square or ammunition or whatever, there will be all kinds of commotion. But you feel it is fine, to do those kinds of things, to showcase those kinds of things on social media without any consequences. That you can, share, encourage, even a subtle endorsement of very terrible things. Sometimes some of the videos, I cannot even watch it, the kinds of things people are saying. So I think that we really have a huge problem. At the moment, the state is using almost pseudo-criminal libel type of colonial legislation to deal with it. So it means that we need to look at our laws. How do we deal with that?
and what is the appropriate punishment.
Okay.
There's, of course, issues, opportunities like defamation, all that stuff. But the other thing that I also want to raise is that if you are going to deal with it, as maybe the MPP is trying to say, why is it that it's only partisans that you are? Because are they the only ones that are sharing this?
Okay.
So that approach is important. But what about
just a minute
the parties? Yeah. Also, what are they doing? So
yeah, let's hear Dennis briefly in less than a minute. Let's see what we can do quickly. My time is up. I'm being asked to close.
Let me just, because we don't have time.
So Obama is still in custody. Please, at least grant him bail. Yeah,
that's the point. I'm against all form of extremism in free speech. I'm against all form of violence, threat in free speech.
Right.
But the framers of free speech knew that there may be outliers, like Doc said. And that is why they put in place laws and regulations to deal with it. It doesn't include abduction. It doesn't include kidnapping. It doesn't include break-in into people's homes in the middle of the night. What the Ghana police and the state security apparatus are doing is that they are putting all of us at risk. Because if the security service can break into your home in the manner in which they broke into, say, Obama's home, then tonight when you are asleep at 3 a.m. and you hear your house being broken into, how do you react?
Okay.
Is it the state security? Is it armed robbers? Should you protect yourself? Should you protect yourself and then you wake up in the morning and it's a state operative? What would you have done to yourself?
Right.
And I think that whatever they've done to, say, Obama, they should be ashamed of themselves. There is no lie that they are just showing him where power lies.
Okay.
Otherwise, the court has granted him bail. The registrar has certified that he has met all the bail bonds. Why? In the name of democracy.
Thank you very much. My outfit is by Konati Clothing, 0244676732. 30 seconds. My time is up. As you can see on the wall.
I'm just surprised that
so quickly.
30 seconds. Issued that statement.
30 seconds.
Because a few years ago,
can you imagine?
Anyenini was arrested in similar circumstances.
The court has granted him bail.
So if 4 or 5 years ago, Anyenini sat on a radio station and made statements which resulted in his arrest and incarceration.
Anyenini is too far. Oliver is just recent.
Even under Kufuor Jigbodi. She's late now. Okay. Was arrested.
So don't worry, do it. When we come, do it to you too.
This show is brought to you by Bank of Africa, strong as a group, close as a partner, MTN, everywhere you go. Ashesi University, educating ethical and entrepreneurial leaders for Africa. Robert & Sons Optical Services, your comprehensive eye care service provider for 33 plus years. My Way Insurance, dial *165# on MTN to join today. Syntax Times is strong, it's tough. Activa International Insurance, our clients are Pashing. International Facilities Management Association and Safari Valley Eco Park, bringing you closer to nature. I'm Samson, Lardy, Anyenini. Have a good afternoon.